Hi guys, welcome back to a new video on the channel. As you might be able to hear, I still have a sore throat. I've been ill the last few weeks with the cold that's been going around, so that's why I haven't been videoing. But if you've missed out on anything, just go and look on my Twitter and tweet me on that because I've still been very active on that over the last few weeks. But I thought that I would just quickly film a quick video on my wildcard team because I see a lot of people asking for wildcard tips, whether they should go for the template, whether they should punt on other players. And I have decided to wildcard this week due to obviously a really poor week last week and a couple of injuries that have forced my hand because I have little to no squad depth. So, moving on into the video, I thought I'd start at the back. So, defensive template. As you can see on screen, here are my 5 defenders on my wild card. I think it's a mixture of decently priced players and cheap players. Obviously, you guys may already have Chelsea or City or Liverpool defenders, but I think that a majority of game weeks I will be lining up with a 3 at the back, which will be Rudiger, Diaz, and Trent. And I think that in terms of a 3 at the back, you can't get much better than that. Perhaps maybe Diaz could be Cancelo if you already have him and he's risen in price. I went with Diaz. Obviously, last week that didn't end up going very well, but I do think that he will not be dropped again in the future. He is number one first choice centre back for City more often than not. The same with Rudiger. Now that he's confirmed to be fit, I assume he'll be playing week in, week out. And obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold rarely gets a break unless he's injured. Then, in terms of the backups, White still lower than his original price. He's currently 4.4 million, if you can pick him up for. And Arsenal have been a lot tighter compared to their start of the season, obviously when Ben White was injured, or I think maybe ill. So they've looked a lot better. And then Tino Livramento from Southampton has very good fixtures, and Southampton have been okay the last few weeks. I think obviously they got a clean sheet versus Leeds, and then they kept clean sheets versus West Ham and Manchester City as well. So they've been decent, and Livramento only 4.3 million, so definitely a bargain. The thing is with this template is it's very easy to bench White and Livramento most weekends, and then use the 3 other players to sort of have that template of 1 City player, 1 Chelsea player, and 1 Liverpool player. Moving on to the midfielders. In terms of budget midfielders, this is assuming that everyone's going to have Salah and probably Rafinha as well. You then have the option whether to go for 1 or 2 budget midfielders, depending on if you want a slightly more expensive attack, or if you're going a slightly cheaper attack, you could have someone like Heung-min Son or Kai Havertz. I've decided to go with a more expensive attack, as you'll see in a minute. So for me, I need to pick 2 of these players. So the first one that I've definitely picked is Mbeumo from Brentford. They have a brilliant run of fixtures coming up, and for just 5.5 million, I got him out last night, or like a couple of nights ago before he went up to 5.6. So I think he's definitely a good option. Unfortunately, I think he's hit the post the most times in the Premier League so far this season. But with a good run of fixtures coming up, he's hard to ignore. Playing out of position up front, obviously gets the clean sheet point being a midfielder and the extra point for the goal, even though he is playing up top with Tony. So Mbeumo definitely is one. And then I think I'm going to jump on the Townsend bandwagon. At 5.7 million, the next 2 fixtures against Watford and Wolves are quite tempting. And because I'm on a wild card, I can afford to play slightly a short-term transfer with the rest of my team being so set up for the long term. As in, I can't see myself making any defensive transfers with the defensive template. My attack, as you'll see in a second, is pretty set up for the long term. So in terms of this, I could go for Townsend for a couple of weeks and then move off to someone else if there's a better option in that sort of 5.9 and under price bracket. Gallagher's another good option, but just the fact that they have Manchester City in the next 2 weeks, they're playing Newcastle this week, and then they're playing Manchester City the week after. I did think that Nathan Redmond would be a good option, but he's also like Mbeumo playing out of position up front for Southampton at the moment. But I believe that Hasenhüttl claimed, said that Che Adams was back training with the squad, and he also was asked about Adam Armstrong because he missed out with Broha coming in and scoring. So I don't know whether Redmond will continue playing up top or whether he'll go back onto the wing. And obviously, it's much more dependent on if he stays up front, whether he would be a better option. So at the moment, I've got Mbeumo and Townsend as my two budget midfield options. So a lot of people are deciding whether they want Son or Kane. That seems to be a key debate, especially with Lukaku being injured. People, if they have the money for Kane or whether they go for Vardy. For me, as you'll see in a second, I have gone with Kane. As you can see on the screen, there is quite a price difference at the moment. And in terms of the stats, Son is better in terms of scoring and worse in terms of assisting. But it's more in terms of the template of the team that I'm looking for. In terms of how I'd like to play the game, sort of booking and transfers isn't ideal. But in terms of, there are some clear fixture swings this season. And definitely Harry Kane to Cristiano Ronaldo seems like a very good move when I think it's in Gameweek 16 when the Manchester United fixtures swing. I think they play Norwich or maybe it's Crystal Palace, and Kane goes from playing Norwich to Brighton, I think, off the top of my head. So in terms of moving Kane onto Ronaldo, there's only a 0.4 million difference, I think, at the moment, or something along those lines. And if Kane goes up and Ronaldo goes down in price, then, by the time I'd like to transfer them out, they could be a similar price. And in terms of just getting in another player for captaincy option, obviously Mo Salah's the key captaincy option at the moment, but I believe in 12, 14 and 15, Kane has slightly more favourable fixtures. And if Kane's on any sort of form and Spurs are on decent form, then captaining Kane over Salah in those game weeks is definitely a good option. But in terms of captaincy for this weekend, I think there's only one clear option in my team. Obviously, people that have taken a punt on Kai Havertz, that would be a decent option in my opinion. But for me, it is between these three men on screen. As you can see, Salah has the most expected goals and the most expected assists per 90 out of all of them. And Liverpool have the best expected goals per 90 as a team with 2.55 expected goals per game, which is pretty incredible. They are by far the best attacking side in the Premier League at the moment. They're also playing against the team that are conceding the most expected goals per 90, which is Manchester United. So even though it is a big game between Liverpool and Manchester United, in terms of the stats, Salah is the clear favourite out of these three guys on screen. I think that my vice-captain will be Vardy, just because I see a rested Vardy. Obviously, Kane had a rest as well, but I just see Vardy against Brentford being a better option. Leicester created, I think it was 4 goals at the weekend, midweek, and Liverpool obviously got 3 at Brentford, and I think that Vardy could easily get a couple at Brentford as well. However, if you look on screen now, this will be my team for the weekend. I believe Raya in goal is actually playing Leicester at home and not Norwich away. I apologise for that mistake. But yes, apart from that, you can see the Brentford triple up. I'm playing Raya, Mbeumo and Tony. Tony is the budget striker that I've gone with. And then as the rest of the team was pretty much lined up as expected, Rudiger, Diaz and Trent with that three team template. And then Salah with the captain's armband, Rafinha, Townsend, Kane, and Vardy. So that will be my team for the weekend. Leave a comment if you've got any questions, or at me on Twitter if you've got any dilemmas, whether you're taking out Lukaku, whether you're benching him. I'd imagine, because I think we've got the most recent info is that he's going to be out for a minimum of a couple or a few game weeks. So I'd imagine transferring him out would be the best option, if you can do, of course, unless you have a really strong bench. But I would recommend taking him out, as that's what sort of prompted my wild card with Lukaku being out. So leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all of my content. And thanks for watching. Hope you have a good week.